Welcome to the Black Entrepreneur Experience podcast, inside the business, buzz, and brilliance of Black entrepreneurs. Here is your host, Dr. Frances Richards.
Thank you for joining us for Black Entrepreneur Experience. This is where we shine the light on the most successful Black entrepreneurs in the world. I'm your host, Dr. Frances Richards, and I am so honored today to have Richard Taylor. He's the founder of Harrison Blake Apparel, a family-owned and operated business that delivers high-quality men accessory at a great price. He's also an author and a podcaster. Welcome, Richard.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm happy to be on the line with you.
Well, you know what? I have given our audience a brief snippet of your bio. Can you share with our audience what you would desire them to know about yourself and your business?
Sure. I've been an entrepreneur for the past, I would say, 8 years now. And I started off doing fiction writing and transitioned that when I started my company, Harrison Blake Apparel, and decided to build around that brand. That seemed like the most wise thing to do at the time. And so I've written a few books to go along with the brand that I think will encourage men to be their best selves, and also a podcast entitled The Life of a Gentleman that also ties into looking your best, but also feeling your best and presenting your best self to the world. So everything's based around Harrison Blake Apparel right now, and that's been going well for the past 3 years.
Richard, how did you decide this was the business for you? You talked about before you was writing fiction. And what was that aha moment that you knew that your business was going to be successful?
Really what it was is I like to create things, and I had the idea of first starting out basically with just lapel pins. I don't know if you're familiar with that accessory, but it's usually a flower-shaped fabric that men put in their lapel on their jacket to accentuate their suit. So really, I started fooling around with just creating those on my own, and people that I knew liked the designs, and so I decided to sell them online. I started off just basically selling them on Etsy, and then started a website of my own, and before long, sales were really doing well. So the business just developed that way, just from a hobby into a business, and then I decided to expand the line into all of men's accessories because that seemed like the way that things were going. And so I just followed the path, and here we are today.
So are you operating the business full time?
Yes, at this point, I'm operating the business full time, and it's been really a pleasure to see the business grow. Like I said, it started as a hobby, but it's really grown into something wonderful and that I think I can be proud of.
And so, Richard, tell our audience, how do you personally define success? What does that look like for you, and how long did it take to manifest in your life personally?
I think being successful really is about being happy and being content with your life and your lifestyle. So everybody should have a measure of success in their life. But as far as business success is concerned, for me, it was when I started to get a lot of traction online through social media, people reaching out, wanting to collaborate with us. Almost every day we get inquiries of people that want to collaborate, they want to work together and partner to represent the brand. So when you see people from all different backgrounds, different parts of the world, starting to come to you as the source to get their accessories or to want to be part of it in some way, that was really when I felt like I had achieved a level of success. Of course, there's always room for growth, and definitely I see a lot of growth potential on the horizon for Harrison Blake as well.
And so you had mentioned, Richard, starting out with Harrison Blake, that you were doing the lapels. So now are you making everything yourself? So are you doing the manufacturing in? Have you outsourced that? And if you've outsourced it, have you outsourced it in the USA or have you outsourced it abroad?
Yes, in the early days, I was manufacturing everything in-house, just myself, and a friend of mine was helping. But what happened is the demand got too high. And also when I wanted to expand into other products like neckties, pocket squares, socks, tie bars, things like that, I wasn't able to manufacture those myself. So yes, I had to outsource, and I chose to outsource overseas. It was more economical for me. And actually, the service that I get from my overseas suppliers has been wonderful. So I have nothing but good things to say about them.
So, what is a daily or a weekly habit that you do consistently that has given you the greatest success?
The greatest thing that you can do, well, that works for me, is to be consistent on social media. One of the largest social media platforms that we're most active on is Instagram. And I have dedicated to posting at least between 1 to 3 times a day for the past 3 years consistently. Never miss a day, no matter if I have the flu on vacation, it doesn't matter. I post something for the followers to see and also in hopes of gaining new interest. And also, those posts, I try to be regular on other social media accounts like Facebook, Twitter. But I think consistency is the key because you can't take a day off when you're promoting your business with so many other things going on and so many other options for people. You'll quickly be forgotten if you don't focus and consistently put out information for people to learn about your brand.
Speaking about technology, and you mentioned social media, so have you automated that process in terms of your posts with Instagram? Is there a specific technology platform or tool that you are using that is a must have for you in your business?
For social media, we're pretty authentic. So no, we don't use any tools or automation. Basically, if somebody interacts with me on social media, they're actually getting directly to me, myself. I know a lot of other companies will outsource that, but I like to be hands on with the customers and interact with them. And a lot of people have gotten to actually know me, over the years of being customers and repeat customers. If you interact on social media, you're actually going to get a real live person, and that would be me, the owner of the company. I think that's a benefit to those that are interested in learning more about the brand.
What is one valuable lesson, Richard, you wish you knew before starting your business?
I think before starting the business, I wish I would have known more about SEO, things like that, about how to get your website ranking up, just the things that the average person really doesn't think about when you hop on the internet. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes on the back end, connecting with bloggers and things like that. That's all things that I've had to learn along the way. I wish I would have known that at the start. I think we could have got off to a faster start, but was able to adapt as time went on. And so that's been nice to continue learning as I go.
So, yeah, when you're talking about the SEO, search engine optimization, so tell our audience in reference to that lesson you wish that you've learned, and maybe there's someone out there in our audience that's starting where you were at that moment. So, how would you tell them what advice would you give them in reference to the best way for them to learn that information? Is it taking a class? Is it reading a book? Is it searching the internet? What would you recommend, Richard?
I would recommend starting with researching it on the internet, but then once you find a trusted source, I would sign up for a course that you can take online. There's a lot of people that offer courses, but you have to find the right teacher that is good for you and someone that you trust. I think that's the best way to go about it. The thing is, you have to educate yourself, and you can't be afraid to invest in educational seminars. That may mean you have to take a trip to a conference to learn more. That's fine as well, because if you don't educate yourself, you can find yourself being left behind in any particular field that you're going into.
Thank you. So, what's working well for you now in your business?
Right now, what's working well is still connecting with gentlemen that are in the fashion field. And I'll tell you a story. One thing that really got us jump started was actually giving away product at the beginning. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but actually, by giving people who have influence the product for free, letting them try it and letting them write about it on their blog or post about it on Facebook or Instagram, that was the way that the business really was catapulted. And things start to spread by word of mouth. I would still encourage people to do that because it's really the best way that we get the word out about our brand, because we're still a small company. We don't have a big budget like major brands. So you have to do things that are grassroots. So giving away product to people who are influencers, that has worked in the past. It's still working well. And I'm trying to reach more people who are influential on YouTube because YouTube is really exploding even more than it has in the past. And people are watching videos more and more. And those influencers, they are able to push that information out to people that have never heard about you before. And so I would encourage anybody to try that.
So, what keeps you going day to day?
Well, the life of an entrepreneur can be very difficult. Sometimes there's ups and downs, of course, as you know. But what keeps me motivated is just the fact that I named the company Harrison Blake Apparel. And that name is special to me. That is my son's name. I named it after him because I knew that would motivate me to continue to push this business to greater and greater heights and not give up, even when times are tough. I think about his name and what it represents to me and how I want his name to have a good name within the fashion community. And so it's my job to constantly expand on the brand and keep pushing every day, knowing that I can leave a legacy for my family if I'm able to do this.
So, do you have just the one son?
Actually, he is my youngest. I have a daughter. She's 11. My son is 7. So they like to be involved with the company as much as they can. And I think it's wonderful that I'm able to show them the spirit of entrepreneurship, letting them know that anything's possible. My daughter, she's really into photography. She helps with some of the photos that you might even see on the Instagram page. And so I'm encouraging them to follow their own path and to follow their dreams as they watch me and work with me every day.
So, when you thought about naming the business after your son, Harrison Blake, and I don't know, this may be a little bit personal, if you have other sons, how would you do that?
Yeah, right now I just have the 2 children. It's funny because sometimes my daughter, she gets a little bit jealous that the company is named after her brother. But at the same time, she plays a larger role with the company right now. You know, she's able to do things on the computer and with the camera that he's not able to do. But also, it's funny, I named a tie after her and it's become one of our best sellers. So she's pretty proud about that too.
Do you want to share the name of the tie?
Yeah, my daughter's name is Sydney, but for short, we call her Sid. So we named the tie Sid's Lines. It is a blue tie with red diagonal lines on it, and it's become very popular. So she always has kind of bragging rights because Sid's Lines is always selling very, very fast.
That's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
So, Richard, who are your top 2 influencers in your life and what lessons do they teach you?
Top 2 influencers would be probably my parents. They showed me what it means to be hardworking and to be dedicated to their family. And then also, an influencer that I look up to is a gentleman that's a motivational speaker by the name of Les Brown. I don't know him personally, but I'm a huge fan of his. I listen to his speeches weekly, and he really gives me the motivation to continue pushing to create a business for myself.
Yes, Les Brown, I'm very familiar with, and he is a great motivational speaker. And I love the story that he tells about when he got the opportunity to be on air for the first time at the radio station.
Yeah, I love that story.
That's a great story. So, what is your end game for Harrison Blake Apparel?
Well, right now, I want to keep expanding the line. We've kind of refined the line a little bit this year with some new designs. And I think that's the direction we want to go with a certain look of the brand. Also, a big part of the brand is we have a subscription club. So people can have 2 options when they come on the website. They can purchase items a la carte, like just a necktie, a pocket square, whatever they like to choose. Or you can sign up for a monthly club. And what that is you get one necktie plus 4 to 5 additional accessories that match and complement that tie. And that is only $25 per month for that service. And so what I'm trying to do right now is to continue to grow the monthly subscription because that is the highest revenue earner for us at this point. So I'd like to expand the subscription base, and I'd also like to, at the same time, continue bringing on new designs for those that want to choose their own styles and match things up on their own.
Yeah, that sounds good. I was just thinking as you were saying that, and I was just trying to think outside the box to think of a great marketing strategy or additional customers for you. And so I was thinking about individuals that are getting ready to graduate from college and maybe going on interviews, and that would be a good way to kind of market. You've probably already thought about that. And then I was thinking about historically Black colleges. I think a lot of them in their colleges, they do have them wear suits. And even I believe that there's an all boys school in New York that they have to wear like suits and uniforms. So I was just thinking of some different avenues or ways to market your business.
Yeah, those are great ideas. I really like those. I have to definitely put some effort into reaching out to those HBCUs. That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Even if it's nothing but getting the opportunity during homecoming, there's just so many different avenues. And then I know that one of the things that they really focus on, I know specifically, is about their look and their image and dressing a specific way. And so that would be really good to kind of steer in that direction.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I appreciate you mentioning that.
Thank you. Richard, talk to a younger you. What advice would you give a younger you?
I would have told myself to get started earlier. A lot of years I was just working for someone else, and that's really not a way to build wealth or income for yourself in this day and age. I definitely would have told myself to get started earlier and to just follow a path and just be relentless. That's the best advice I could give to myself as a young person or any other young person.
So, what role or responsibility do you see your business or yourself in terms of contributing to increasing the number of Black entrepreneurs in your community, in the world, however you want to define, helping us expand the number of Black entrepreneurs?
I think that's very important because not enough of us probably are diving into entrepreneurship. And so, what I like to do is everywhere I go, people I talk to, encourage them to think about turning their passion into a profit in some kind of way, even if it's just, starting out with something on the side. That's how you do it. It has to start somewhere. Also, I take it upon myself to try to reach out and connect with other African American entrepreneurs because I feel like we need to help each other, support one another, and sometimes bounce ideas off one another. Because, as I mentioned, being an entrepreneur sometimes can be very difficult, it can be challenging, and it can be a lonely road because you might be the only entrepreneur in your family, and they might not understand exactly what you're going through on a day-to-day basis. So I'm trying to reach out to others and form a mastermind group where we can connect, talk, and encourage. But also I encourage people to do more research about it and get inspired about entrepreneurship by listening to other people like Dr. Boyce Watkins. And one of my favorites that you have to listen to is Dr. Claude Anderson. He tells you so many wonderful aspects of entrepreneurship and the benefits of them for yourself and for your family and really for generations to come. It's just so important. I'm passionate about it.
So, I'm familiar with Dr. Watkins. I believe he's a doctor. Did I say that right or did I mess that up?
No, that is correct.
Okay. And I believe I've heard of Dr. Claude Anderson. Now, is the information that you're retrieving, is it online? Is it audio? Is it podcast? How is his information disseminated?
Dr. Claude Anderson, he is an older gentleman, so he doesn't have a podcast per se, but if you search him on YouTube, you can find old speeches, interviews that he does that are also recent. But I would recommend, this is my book recommendation a bit early, but he has written several books. First and foremost, I would recommend a book called Powernomics that's written by him. It's the National Plan to Empower Black America by Dr. Claude Anderson. It's a phenomenal book, and it's a must read for every entrepreneur.
Okay, thank you for that. And you're absolutely correct. And I was familiar with him. I didn't want to mess that information up, and I have watched some of his interviews and also familiar with the book. And thank you for answering the question early in reference to what book you would recommend. So I appreciate that. So, how do you, Richard, blend your personal life, family life with your business?
Actually, it's funny because I think the thing about it is you have to have support system, and my wife is very supportive. So there's times where I have to be at the office and take care of business, or I have to travel out of town to take care of business. But at those times too, if I can incorporate the family with me along on those trips, that works out well. But also, I have, as I mentioned, my two children, they're school age. They like to be involved. And so weekends, we do things together with Harrison Blake, and it makes them feel like they're part of the company. Other added benefit that I have that I think is special is that my parents are retired. They work with me. My mother works with me first and foremost, and I love working with her. She's absolutely a great inspiration, a very organized person. And so it's wonderful to have your family involved. Harrison Blake really is become a family business. I think everybody is happy to be a part of it, and we all work together, and we're proud of it.
And one of the things when I'm going to kind of jump back a minute when I had asked you about the role and responsibility that you feel that you or your company can contribute to increasing the amount of African Americans. And I just wanted to give a shout out to you and kudos in reference to how you're training your daughter and your son in reference to working into the business. You are giving them just so much information that it is going to put them an edge over so many other individuals, because what you're tapping into is showing them about empowerment, entrepreneurship, Black entrepreneurship, and then you have the family unit, you being the head of your household, and like you said, being that gentleman and a man, and you're setting the bar high and the standards for what your daughter is going to look for in terms of her husband, but more importantly, and your son, just how he should provide for his family. And so they don't have to go into that hole. If they choose to, they can, to work for someone else, but they know that it's possible. And that's a valuable lesson that you're giving to your family. So I just wanted to give a shout out to you in reference to that. And then having your parents work in the business, that is huge. So thanks for sharing that.
Oh, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. It's funny because we all look back on it, and I remember I actually started the business with just $200, literally. And I used to make the lapel pins, and I would just sit at the kitchen table and make those. And I had all the materials for the business. I bought a big tackle box. It's like a fishing tackle box, and I just put everything in there when I was done to keep it out of the way. And we look back on it and laughed at. Started with the fishing tackle box, and then I had a corner in the basement, a couple tables, and then we moved into an office, and then we expanded more. We had to move out of that office into a bigger office. And so it's funny when we look back, how far we've come in just 3 years. I'm happy about that.
And you know what? Thanks for taking us back to that journey, because you always hear these stories about how someone has started their business and it just appears that they started this business and poof, it blew up and now they're Zuckerberg millionaires or something like that. So I appreciate you sharing with us how it was your passion and you turned your passion into a profit, and you're letting others know that it is definitely possible to make that happen. Richard, I want to kind of switch gears here and talk about risk or failures. What is the worst moment in business and what was the takeaway?
I think the worst moment in the business so far has been trying to expand into women's accessories. That was a horrible failure. It really was something I didn't know a lot about, but people were saying, "Oh, you're doing so well with the men's. Why don't you try women's?" And we did a soft launch with some women's products, fell flat on her face, horrible. And all you can do is just get back up and dust yourself off. And it just wasn't working. I removed everything from the website and just kept moving forward, just like it never happened. But it was a letdown, but that's business. That's the way things are.
Absolutely. So, talk to the person in the audience. They want to start a business, they're fearful, they're working a 9 to 5. What advice, Richard, would you offer them?
The best advice I would give is to go forward with your plan. Make sure you're serious about it. You can't halfway do things. If you're going to go after the business, go for it. The business deserves that if it's going to work and grow. I would also say make a plan, stick to it, and be patient. Things don't happen overnight, so don't look for overnight success. There's no such thing as that, and be ready for hard work. And lastly, I would say if you're serious about business, it's time to eliminate some recreational things, primarily television. It's a big waste of time. If you're serious about business, you're going to have to turn off the television. You're not going to be able to watch every game. You're not going to be able to watch every episode of Scandal and Empire. You have to put those things to the side, work on the business. It's going to pay off. You just have to believe that it will.
Very good advice. So, what milestones or milestones do you want to accomplish for your business over the next couple of years?
Over the next few years, the biggest undertaking that I'm going through right now is expanding the brand by trying to get it into retail. Up to this point, everything has been selling online through the Harrison Blake Apparel website. But now we have just started within the past week of reaching out to retailers to provide our products at wholesale to them so they can get it in their clients' hands so that the brand can spread really across the globe. I have an opportunity that may or may not be coming through with a retailer in Norway that I'm very excited about. And I'm excited to just keep spreading this brand across the globe and hopefully into smaller shops at first, but then work our way up to some of the bigger retailers.
That is a wonderful move for your business. So, Richard, tell me, if you conducted this interview, what is the one question that you wish I would have asked? And I would like you to answer that question.
Let me see. I think one question that sometimes does not get asked is about what you do when you hit the bump in the road. And I think what happens with a lot of people is you have a business, you're not seeing the revenue coming in at the beginning, and what do? I touched on it a little bit when I told people not to give up, but I think at that point you have to reach out and find yourself a mentor or a coach, because when you get a mentor or you get a coach, that's somebody that's been there before you that can kind of guide you through and also reassure you and help you to realize that you're on the right path. But sometimes, what happens is the negative part of our brain kicks in and makes us want to throw in the towel. So I think finding a mentor or a coach, that would be something that's huge for people to invest in. I know it's an investment, but it's kind of worth it.
So, if you had to do it all over again, would you do the same apparel industry or would you make a switch?
I think I would do this all over again. And the reason I say that is because I thought about the apparel industry. Quite honestly, the markup on clothing is astronomical. You probably know that when you go shopping, you wonder sometimes how these stores can have a 70% off sale. And the sad truth is that when stores do that, they're still making money. That's how much the markup is on clothing. And so for that reason, it's a great business. Also, me starting with accessories in retail or accessories in fashion, I should say, I do a lot of shipping, obviously, because it's an online business. So the packages are lighter weight because I'm shipping ties, pocket squares, lapel pins, socks, things that aren't very heavy. If I was to dive into another business, maybe the physical goods would be heavier. That increases the risk factor because the shipping, it's not cheap. It will go up. If you go over a pound on, it gets very expensive. So people have asked us, why don't you expand into suits or shoes or things like that? Quite honestly, the items are just too heavy. I'm not interested in having that much risk because that just increases your output so much more per month. The shipping already is unbelievable. So for me, this is a perfect business. It's something that I like. I think accessories make your outfit anyway. So I like letting people choose any suit or sports coat they want. They can accessorize with us, and we can ship it to them very economically.
And you know, that's interesting. I mentioned this on a previous podcast, and on Black Entrepreneur Experience, our whole objective is to uplift and shine the light on successful Black entrepreneurs all over the globe. And we also focus on any and everything pertaining to business and entrepreneurship. And so I give that little summary to say, because I may make a comment that talks about another business or a business strategy, and the individuals may not be African American. And so we can learn from anyone. And so we want to be successful. And the reason I mention this, I shared this before in the latest issue of Inc. magazine. So I'm looking at it now. This is actually, so this is May 2017. And the reason I say that, I don't know when this particular podcast is going to air, but they talked about this young lady. Her name is Laura Wu, and she started a company called, she's the CEO of Shippo. And that's SHIPPO. She, again, I will preference it by saying she is not a Black entrepreneur. The reason I mentioned that when you talked about shipping is she was in the fashion industry. She was doing purses. And she said that she was running to the store, to the post office or wherever 2-3 times a day. And she said there's got to be a solution to this problem. So she started this platform, and it might benefit you. The reason I'm throwing this out there, or someone else, that shipping is a huge part of your expenses. And so she's developed this platform. I'm not endorsing the platform. I'm just giving information where she actually compares different ways to ship economically. So she was solving that problem. So that may be something that can benefit you.
Oh, thank you so much. I'll definitely look into that. I've heard of Shippo, but I haven't tried them out yet, but I definitely will look into it.
Yeah, she was on the cover as they have the 30 most dynamic young founders in America called Rising Stars. And she is highlighted in that article. And I was reading it and I thought that was pretty intuitive of her, and it just shows the innovation when you think outside the box, which is what we want our audience to do, to increase the numbers of Black entrepreneurs in our community and across the globe, because that's how we are going to solve problems within our own community, is by economically empowering ourselves and starting our own businesses.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
So, Richard, share with our audience a parting piece of advice that you want to offer.
I think that advice would be, when you're starting your business or running your business, always pay attention to your monthly expenses, because that's something sometimes that you don't look at. Once the business is running, you're so busy, you don't think, how can I cut costs or save money in different ways? We just talked about shipping. I'm always looking for ways to save money on shipping. For us, one way I figured out was to change up the packaging. By changing up the packaging, I was able to save a lot of money. But then also, there's sometimes some services or things that you need for your business at one point, but then you realize down the road, I don't need that, or there's another service that's just as good, that's a little bit more cost effective. So be open to looking back at your monthly finances, seeing where you can cut or how you can be creative to save yourself some money, because that really impacts your bottom line.
So, we're going to move into what's called the Fun Facts Lightning Round, and I'm going to ask you a series of questions, Richard, and I want very quick responses. And if you feel that there's some information that you don't have a response or choose not to answer, feel free to say pass. Are you ready for the lightning round?
Sounds good.
All right, Richard, the last movie you saw?
I just saw The Circle. Actually saw that last night.
You relaxed doing what?
Listening to music.
Your favorite singer or rapper?
Favorite singer would be female, Jill Scott. Male singer, Michael Franks.
Your favorite dance song?
Anything by Probably Mary Mary.
And what food you eat every week, no matter what?
Steak.
And your favorite month?
Favorite month would probably be June.
June. Richard, we are so humbly honored that you would spend time with us. We know that you're busy as a entrepreneur, owner, father. And another thing that I was going to say, this just came to mind with us being in May. Father's Day is right around the corner, so we want to encourage our audience, and it's always an opportune time. I am going to actually purchase some things for my husband for Father's Day, so that would be a great way to, as you're releasing your information or just kind of a promo around Father's Day, which I'm sure that you do. So I am going to support your business and buy some items for my husband. So I appreciate that.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support.
So what is the best way for our audience to connect with you?
The best way would probably be right on the website, harrisonblakeapparel.com. From there, you can get links to our Instagram and our Facebook or Twitter. We have a YouTube channel. And of course, we also have the podcast on iTunes. It's called The Life of a Gentleman. And we're happy to connect with anyone there. And I really want to say thank you to you for having me on the show. It's been an honor to be part of the show. And I wish you the best with your podcast as well. I think this is going to be an amazing format that you have going for.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Richard, and thanks for all that you're doing for your community and for your family and being just a great American.
Thanks so much. I really appreciate that.
Take care. It's a wrap.
Thank you for listening and subscribing to Black Entrepreneur Experience. We would love for you to leave a review and rating on iTunes and share with your friends. For show notes and more episodes, go to www.beepodcast.com. Join us next Wednesday, and remember, green is the new black. So keep your bank accounts and your business in the black.